Sometimes it's only when a criminal reveals the truth about their crimes that police are able to get a case closed. Most of the time, this is done in a private manner or after long interviews with law enforcement. But sometimes the criminal will reveal their crimes on camera or tape, explaining their own actions or simply stating what happened. Number 5. When Lee Abbott was arrested outside his friend's house on August 11, 2019, his confession was recorded on the police officer's body cameras. He told them they didn't need evidence. He had done everything they said he had. Even without the confession, security cameras and a number of witnesses had watched him pull out a bladed weapon and attack an innocent man just hours earlier. That evidence would come in useful in the end, as despite his confession, Abbott would plead not guilty. Abbott's victim was Christian Thornton, who was known as Chris by his friends. Chris was a pub landlord and was well liked within the community. Abbott had been coming into his pub for a while before things turned sour. Abbott had previously told female customers that he carried a bladed weapon, so when Chris saw Abbott and two friends using illegal substances at the entrance of his pub, he told them they were banned. The three men left without incident. About a week later, Abbott came back. Chris hadn't forgotten though, and again told Abbott that he was banned. Abbott seemed to take this well, and CCTV saw the pair shaking hands before Abbott walked away. Something changed overnight though. The following day, Abbott was back. He demanded to know why he was banned, yelled at bar staff, and threatened to burn the pub down. Chris reacted calmly. He told police but didn't want to press charges against him. He only wanted them to make it clear to Abbott that he wasn't welcome and get him to leave. Chris told police he didn't think Abbott would go through with the threat, but was still concerned about it. Chris was a member of Pub Watch, where landlords of pubs in the local area would meet to tackle issues that impacted them all. He told them about Abbott, and it was agreed he would be barred for a year from all other pubs. Unsurprisingly, Abbott reacted violently to this. It was a few days later, after ingesting a large quantity of alcohol and illegal substances, that he returned to Chris's pub. It was after closing time, but Chris was practicing darts with a team when Abbott broke into the pub. Abbott physically confronted him, but Chris was once again calm as he called police. It was then that Abbott took out his weapon and attacked, striking him multiple times. Despite suffering multiple wounds, Chris fought back, and Abbott ran to a friend's house where he was later arrested. Sadly, Chris would not recover. When he was arrested, Abbott confessed, saying, quote, "I attacked that Chris. Yeah, it's all me. It's all my fault. I'll admit everything. I'm not going to deny nothing. That's the way it is." He would deny that he had intended to take his victim's life though, and the case went to trial where he was found guilty. Number 4. Not everyone who confesses to a crime on tape does so intentionally. David Jungerman already had a history of violence when he was arrested under suspicion of taking the life of a lawyer in 2017. Police were investigating a separate act of violence entirely when they uncovered a tape recording in which Jungerman admitted to taking someone's life. Police believe he was talking about Thomas Pickert. Jungerman and Thomas crossed paths years earlier. It was September of 2012 when Jungerman was alerted to a break-in at a business he owned in Kansas City. He was the wealthy owner of a company that made baby furniture, but his business had taken a bit of a nosedive after new health and safety regulations were brought in. Since then, he'd become more and more fearful of trespassers coming onto his property to steal copper wiring. Jungerman went to the warehouse where he heard voices. He fired a weapon at one of the intruders, striking him in the leg. The person who had been hit in the leg was a homeless man named Jeffrey Harris. He had to have his leg amputated. No criminal charges were filed, but Harris put forward a civil lawsuit for damages. Thomas was Harris's attorney. He told the court that Jungerman hadn't given any warning or contacted police, and pointed out his history of pointing weapons at people. Less than a month after the incident with Harris, 2 others were attacked in a similar fashion. Thomas won the case, and Harris was awarded $5.75 million in damages. Jungerman said he would appeal, but Thomas likely thought that would be the end of the matter. He moved on with his life when he was hit in the head with a bullet while sitting outside his home on October 25, 2017. Thomas had just returned from taking his 2 sons to elementary school and was on the phone when he was attacked. His wife came outside to see a man in a white van speeding away from the house. Other witnesses claim an elderly man was behind the wheel. The description matched Jungerman and a vehicle that he owned, but police didn't have enough evidence to charge him with the crime. In March of the following year, Jungerman found himself in trouble with the law for a different crime. He had gone to a recycling center and attacked a man he accused of stealing iron pipes from him. He was arrested, and police obtained a warrant to search his vehicle and home. In his car, they found a bullet that matched the caliber that had hit Thomas. But in his home, they found something much more condemning. Jungerman had a habit of using a tape recorder to record legal proceedings or conversations he thought might be important later. In November of 2017, he had been in court after he'd broken into a bunkhouse for workers on his farm. He had recorded proceedings, and the recorder was still on when he got into his car to leave. On the tape, he told an unnamed individual, quote, "Hey, you know people know I murdered that guy." Local media linked him to the crime, even though police hadn't named him as a suspect. In the tape, he laughed and said nobody can figure out what's gone on. An employee also claimed that Jungerman told him he had taken the life of a lawyer for stealing his money. Police believed they now had enough evidence to charge him with taking Thomas's life. Jungerman denies he was the person responsible and still awaits trial. Number 3. A morning news show in Ghana discusses the morning news as well as invites guests to talk about various topics. In September of 2021, the host welcomed Felix Ansah onto his show. Ansah was a born-again Christian who had once been a spiritualist and was on the show to talk about the dark secrets of the rituals he had once been a part of. What the host likely wasn't expecting was for Ansah to admit to taking the lives of countless women, including one in order to help a politician he elected. Ansah calmly explained how a friend had recommended to travel to Senegal to gain spiritual powers to help him in his business. He would then use his powers to conduct rituals which would help progress the careers of others. It isn't unheard of for successful people to seek assistance from spiritualists, with great rewards for both sides. Another spiritualist claimed in October to have helped dozens of footballers, one of which allegedly promised him a house. The spiritualist didn't go into details about how he helped his clients, but Ansah was more than open. According to Ansah, he had been approached by a local politician ahead of an election. In order to ensure the politician won his contest, Ansah buried a woman alive in the politician's home. The ritual took place in December. The following month, the politician was elected. Ansah told the host he couldn't count how many people he had taken the lives of, but said that he was not repenting. At first, the police didn't act on the claims, but after considerable social media backlash from shocked viewers, Ansah was arrested. He pleaded not guilty to spreading false news. However, his defense counsel said the acts he talked about were spiritual, and no lives had actually been lost. Police are still investigating the matter. No bodies have turned up, and it's not clear what will come from this shocking confession. Number 2. In January of 2018, a 44-year-old man walked into a local news station in Redding, California, and told them that he wanted to confess to a crime that had occurred 25 years earlier. Brian Hawkins sat down with a journalist to confess that he and two friends had taken the life of Frank McAllister in 1993. He didn't go into any details about the crime, but told the reporter that he had spent his whole life living in regret and that God wanted him to confess. The news station had contacted police before sitting down to interview Hawkins, and after Hawkins had said what he wanted to say, he went to the police station next door to hand himself in. Since then, more details of his version of events have come to light. Frank McAllister was 19 years old when he disappeared in 1993. His girlfriend reported him missing after he had taken her car to run errands and hadn't returned. The car was found abandoned in a Costco parking lot, with clear signs that someone had been attacked inside. It wasn't until the following year that his remains were found in a remote location a few miles away. Hawkins' girlfriend and his girlfriend's brother were interviewed by police at the time. They had been the last people to see Frank. They all claimed he had dropped them off near a park before leaving for Shingletown, where his body was found. The case went cold and likely would have stayed that way if it weren't for Hawkins' confession. According to Hawkins, Frank was a friend of his girlfriend and her brother. He had recently received money from an insurance settlement, and this was the reason why they had committed the attack. Frank had planned to take them to Shingletown, where they would buy illegal substances. They would then resell the substances in Reading for a profit. But Hawkins and his friends had other plans. Once in Shingletown, they attacked him and left his body there before driving back to Reading and abandoning the car. According to Hawkins, he had been dealing with guilt ever since and hadn't been able to live his life. The two others that Hawkins accused denied any involvement. His girlfriend stuck to the story that they'd been telling for 25 years, while her brother claimed that Hawkins was the one who attacked Frank, and he had simply dropped a rock on his head as an act of mercy. Number 1. It was just before 4 in the morning when neighbors of Lori Nichols heard screaming coming from her home and contacted police. Police arrived to find Lori on her front porch with multiple wounds. She managed to tell police that her daughter had come in the middle of the night, called her Satan, and attacked her. Her daughter, Katie, had tried to shove a sock in her mouth and tied her up. She strangled her and attacked her with scissors, then fled the scene before police arrived. Later in the day, local news crews arrived on the scene to interview friends of the victim. The neighbor said she thought Katie was kind of weird, but had never expected anything like this to happen. She told reporters she hoped Nichols would come back so authorities could come get her. It was moments later that Katie Nichols would appear. According to those that knew her, Nichols had always been what they described as hippie-ish, but they never expected her to act violently. Nichols showed no remorse for what she had done to her mother. She told reporters she had discovered her mother was a high-ranking member of a satanic cult. The cult had been casting spells on her for 3 or 4 days, and her mother had symbols of the end of Nichols' life and the life of her daughter. She also claimed her mother and the cult had knowledge of future nuclear attacks that had been stopped now that the cult had been destroyed. Nichols told reporters her mother should have lost her life, and the fact that she was still alive was a sign that she was the Antichrist. She also invited the reporters inside to see Lori's satanic paraphernalia, an invite that the reporters declined. While Nichols explained her actions, one of the crew notified police. Nichols was arrested while the cameras were still rolling, leaving friends, family, and neighbors shocked and confused. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.